Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, pick Gaudienda.
Jared Brandon Gibson.
Brands.
Hey everybody, it's me, Todd. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We are thrilled that you are listening to our show along with our co-host
And good friend.
Rob Chafe.
Chafe.
See, we upgraded you. You're not a special guest.
Mad Cow Amplification.
Good friend is above special guest. Okay.
Yeah.
What's above good friend?
Well, that's for a different
Do
podcast.
I want to know?
Friends with benefits.
Yes. Anyway, so we're going to have a really fun show today because, Jared, what's this show about?
This show is about the small builders, the movers and shakers. I'm stealing Tony's line. And all the people out there saying, hey, man, I think I can do this. And they figure something out. And they have their own special thing going on. We want to hear about it. That's the great thing about this show. And one of my favorite things that we do on here as well is talk about certain things. And we call them 101s. So we learn about guitar necks and pickups and pickguards and
Speakers and cabinets and amps, oh my.
And it goes on and on and on.
That's
right. What this show is about.
And tonight, we are going to put the spotlight on our beloved friend, Tony Dudzik, a.k.a. Tony Baloney, a.k.a. Tanya, a.k.a. Tanya Bolonsky.
I have lots of aliases.
You do.
Some creepy ones.
Yeah, there are some creepy ones. There's no doubt.
So, Tony has a very long history in the guitar world.
Oh, yeah.
And we all share stories together. It's always a delight to hear something that Tony has to share, and he's got a heck of a collection of gear. So we want to dive more into that. We're gonna throw him some, a couple of expertise questions, but a lot of it we really want to hear about Tony.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yes. Before we do that, we need to do a couple of announcements. Number one, we're going to give a shout out to Sonic Artifacts. These are guys that are friends of the show, and they started a little something up too. And Sonic Artifacts is a new podcast featuring the best deals on affordable vintage music equipment. And you can tune in every Tuesday. They do an interview series with builders, musicians, techs, producers from around the world.
Around the world?
Yep. They got new episodes every Tuesday, and interview drops on Fridays. That's pretty cool.
That's nice.
They provide links to all the deals on their Instagram at Sonic_Artifacts, and they really do have some cool gear on their Instagram.
I'm gonna check
channel.
that out.
Yeah, for sure. It's good, and they're good dudes. So, anyway, so check that out at Sonic Artifacts.
Nice.
Yeah, there's all kinds of great content and connections out there in the guitar universe. If you keep your arms open, you connect. I don't know if that's a thing. Anyways. Okay. Hey, and the other thing was,
What's that, Todd?
one of our new poobahs.
I like a good poobah.
Yep, so do I. One of those new poobahs named, can you do it right?
Michio Murakishi.
That's right.
I've been practicing all week.
Yeah. He said, hey, it's Michio. For the record, I appreciate you trying to get the name right. So he was happy that we tried.
I can do it.
Okay.
It's Amicio.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Yeah,
that's as close as Japanese as Jared's going to get. Actually, Scottish and Vietnamese and New
all rolled
Zealand
into
and
one.
South African. Yeah. So here we go. He says, okay, I've got answers to your questions because everybody that signs up new, I ask them a series of questions just to get to know them better. Okay, gear. His main gear is a 2020 Gibson ES 335 in ebony. Says he bought it at the height of the pandemic. His thinking, it says, my thinking, I'll say it from his standpoint, so as not to confuse everybody listening. My thinking was that 2020 would be a low production year. Maybe Jared knows if that's true. My main amp is a Vox AC15. Mm-hmm. It's so key to my tone that I've never gone down the amp rabbit hole. One of the few gear rabbit holes I haven't explored. In terms of pedals, there are about a dozen on my board at the moment. My favorites, though, are the Fulltone OCD, the TC Flashback 2, the Walrus Juliana, and the MXR Micro Amp. Can't seem to live without it. Favorite part of the show? Anytime you talk about Oasis or Britpop. Hey.
Hey, speaking of which, I just
Hold on.
no,
There's more.
Oh, I know, but I don't want to
But
lose.
it's about this.
I don't want to lose
You
my
won't.
train of thought.
Just put it back in your mouth for a second.
It's
Like I
gone.
said before, I'm a big fan. In particular, I was drawn to the show when you were talking about semi-hollows that Noel uses, Noel Gallagher of Oasis, and how a lot of those guys utilized certain pedals to get some movement and create those guitar tones. Stone Roses stand out to me. So I really appreciated that. And John Squire was a
Can I
hell
say
of a
my
guitar
bit now?
player. Tony, did you have anything to add to that? Thank you, Michio, for sending that information. It was great to learn more about you, and now everybody else knows you.
Well,
I have
That
a
could
little-
be freaky or weird.
Well, can I just do my thing?
Sure.
Do your thing, baby.
Two things. The one
no,
thing
you
that
said-
well, I got two things.
Okay.
The one thing that Michio did not like about his 335 is the pick guard,
Yes.
and he said he wanted one that was blue spruce.
Some blue spruce.
No, he wanted a wide bevel like the vintage ones. So
Yes.
he sent me an email and says, "Hey, I love this guitar, but this is bugging me."
Yeah.
So I said, "Send me your guard," which he did. And I'm going to make him a version that has the wider vintage bevel. So the standard bevel is like 45 degrees. A lot of the vintage ones were 30 degrees, which makes the stripes look wider, almost more like a bound guard. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be going out. And secondly, I was watching. I think it was on Netflix. It's called The History of Pop.
Oh, yeah, you were watching that? I couldn't. That made me kind of
You got to go to the.
I just looked at the cover thing. I was like, oh,
No. You got to go. But there's actually a couple of good versions. I couldn't quite do the boy band one, but there is one about Britpop,
Oh,
and it is outstanding.
okay, I'm in.
And the main focus is the tensions and the competition between Oasis and Blur.
Yeah.
But there's some really great stories.
Yeah.
And they interview. I don't think the Gallaghers participated, but a couple of guys from Blur did. But it's well worth watching, and there's a couple of other episodes that are worth watching too in that series. So,
All right.
but watch the Britpop one.
Well, hey, thanks, Tony. That was a heck of an addition that you added to that.
Yes.
And my addition is yes, there were times where they did close down production a little bit, but for the most part,
You're talking about Gibson?
Gibson, they did all they could, and they actually had one of the biggest years last year selling guitars.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're
People
trying
at
to
home with
catch
more
up.
time,
Yep.
I guess. Excellent. Well, we are going to transition right into what's going on in our music world this week. Tony,
Yes.
tell us what's going on in your music world this week.
There's a lot of things going on in my music world, but I bought it was Brian May's birthday.
Yes.
The week before last week, whatever it was. And I said, I've heard a lot of good things about this book that he wrote along with Simon Bradley about specifically his Red Special guitar. And there's a new updated and revised edition that covers some of the Bohemian Rhapsody things and that. But this is such a cool book. And I have never seen, they literally took apart the Red Special and during restoration. There are x-rays of the Red Special.
Wow.
There's pictures of him and his dad building the Red Special. This is it's a sub $20 book. Anybody who is a fan of Queen or guitars building or Brian May
Or musical history.
This is such a cool book. I'm going to go out there this is on the must-have list
All right.
because there's some great photos throughout, And just the X-rays alone are very cool.
I mean, the guy's an astrophysicist besides being a rock star.
Yeah.
That is true.
He's an amazing fella.
So I've been pouring through this book, and yes, he is, and I'm just loving it. It's written in a way it's almost like he's telling the story.
Mm-hmm.
I think Simon Bradley may have had some maybe some editing versions, but it definitely sounds like his voice coming through in the text. So, very good book. Brian May's Red Special.
Awesome.
Buy it
good to
today.
Hear. Good to hear. Let's see. Jared?
This week, the wife actually came down with the dogs, and she brought a special guitar down.
Is she feeling okay?
She's great. The guitar she brought was...
Came down with the dogs. I get it.
Came down with... Yeah, right. She... So she brought the 1974 Les Paul Custom down.
Ooh, nice.
And this is the 20th anniversary one. It's white. It's almost... I don't want to say mint, but it's darn near close. It's really super duper clean. And it's got some of everything's stock on it. The pickups are stock. The wiring harness, everything is untouched. It's got 500K pots. So
now, is this the smoky one, the orange smoky one, or the
no,
black
man.
one?
No, this is the white.
It's beautiful. It's like
20. Yeah, I'll send you a picture. I don't know if you saw it, Tony Baloney.
I don't think I've seen that one. No.
I will send you a picture. It's a gorgeous guitar. It belonged to my stepbrother, and his dad bought it brand new in 1974 or 75.
Oh wow, that's very cool.
it is.
Yeah, so it's
Heavy.
So you've got in your customs, you've got a black one,
yep,
a white one,
yep,
a natural
that.
one that is now orange.
yep. I'm gonna have a white custom too, a white custom shop one. And I may have forgot another one along the line somewhere. Oh yeah, and a mid 70s custom as well, an original one, but that's at Lay's Guitar Repair right now. But she brought it. It's very clean. It's actually kind of special to me because when I was 16, that's when my dad married my stepbrother's mom, my stepmom, and that's when I first saw that guitar. And it's just as clean as it is when I was 16, and I'm 43 now, so somebody else do the math. But it's in my possession now, and
27 years.
yeah, it's in my possession now, and it's a special guitar.
That's
thing
cool.
sounds really, really good. I mean, usually you're like, I don't like they're T-top pickups, whatever. It's all stock, but actually it sounds great. Yes, it is really heavy, but it's just the sound of it sounds fantastic.
Nice.
So she brought that down, and so I have almost all my Norland era Les Pauls. The only one I don't have down here is the 79 Natural. And I might have, I don't know if you guys ever heard of Cam Fury, the painter.
Yes.
He does the sparkle and all the band
super
thing.
heavy, like speedboat flake.
Yeah, I am talking with him. He might do something with that.
That's awesome.
So, stay
That's
tuned.
awesome. Yeah,
So-
they're fans of the show. I actually tried to get Chase Gullett and him hooked up. So
Yeah.
Awesome. Excellent. Rob, how about yourself?
I got nothing. All I've been doing is working. That's it. I know. Todd is so disappointed in me.
All right, give us one highlight or low light. Those are actually more fun.
What was the worst amp and the worst repair you had to deal with?
No real horror stories. It's been, I told Tony before we started, it's just been a lot of rehabs of fenders for the past week. Pretty much every model that they make, I've had something come through. And the last one, I gutted a Pro Reverb, a Blackface Pro Reverb. It came in with all sorts of disrepair, repair hacks on every aspect of the amp at some point. And so I ended up gutting it. Left the transformers, the pots, jacks, chassis, that's it. Everything else came out of it.
Wow.
So, yeah, sounds worse than it really was. I mean, it's almost easier to do those because you just rip everything out of it.
How many of the guitars that the amps that you get in when you are doing repairs, how many, or I guess maybe rough percentage wise, do you end up having to say, hey, another big reason that your amp sounds like garbage is because your speaker either sucks or is damaged or blown or whatever?
Not very often, actually.
Okay.
Not very often. Okay. A good percentage of
My
what
bad,
I do.
sorry.
Thanks, Jared. A good percentage of what I do is vintage stuff, so I see more previous repair hacks. That's usually, if I had to say any one thing, it's either going to be I was going to say tubes, but no, probably previous repair hacks.
Okay.
Are probably the number one thing I have to fix, and then number two, second cause would be tube failure. So
Okay.
it's kind of, I've never thought about that before, but that's kind of ridiculous that tube failure is number two. But yeah, pretty much
Interesting.
almost everything I have come in, I open it up, go, oh yeah, somebody's hacked into this before and they butchered this, and so we now have to undo whatever they did and make it right and
Right.
go from there. So yeah.
I saw, I think the last one that I saw, this was right after our episode last week, was the foil.
Mm-hmm. Around the fuse, yeah. I actually see stupid stuff like that. Do you believe that?
No,
Well, it keeps it from blowing.
This is true. Right until the point that it melts the power cord. Yeah. It's great.
So someone put foil.
All over the fuse that was blown and shoved it back in there.
Okay, and why is that a bad idea? What does that do?
The fuse. Okay, now here's something. I get this all the time. Somebody will bring in an amp and go, yeah, so it blew the fuse. So I went down to Radio Shack or wherever, and I popped a new fuse in. It blew right away, so I popped a new one in. I'm like, oh, no. Every time you're doing that, whatever is drawing the excess current that blows the mains fuse, every time you put a new fuse in, it burns and damages something else, itself more, something,
So you're not really fixing the problem. You're actually creating more
Exasperating
problem
it.
because the tube, the blown fuse is a byproduct of the actual
Yes.
problem.
Yes.
I can repair amps.
That's why the fuse is there in the first place.
Exactly. Unless your amp is hooked up to a generator or it's a known lightning strike or something like that, the fuse blew for a purpose. Don't replace it.
Right.
Bring it to a tech.
Right. That's a blown fuse is the equivalent of an error message on your electronic,
Computer or your car
electronic.
or fixed engine work needs
Check engine.
done or
Yep,
whatever.
Check engine
exactly.
light.
Take to tech. Yeah.
Check amp. Take
Yeah.
two Rob.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's in fact when I
That would actually be a pretty cool thing to put on the front of an amp. Kind of like a car.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. Like that would be kind of cool. Like
some amps have LEDs on the back that indicate tube failure.
yeah,
and
but
it'll
on the
even tell
front it
you.
would be
Well,
cool.
Okay. Well,
Because like a car, like I just said.
okay. Sorry, Todd.
It's got to be Todd's.
Or on the-
I understand now.
Or on
Todd,
the
sorry.
top, on the backside, like a Vox.
Yes, that'd be perfect because then you'd just keep replacing it because you wouldn't see it because it's on the backside because it's useless. Anyways,
That turned out to be a bunch of content.
I
That
know.
was actually that's a very good point because there are a lot of people that
Which thing that I said was a good point.
blowing the
All
fuse.
of it.
Oh, yeah.
Replacing a blown fuse.
Yeah. Never replace
or
a blown fuse.
don't replace a blown fuse.
Don't
Well,
replace a
that's
blown
I mean the
Yes.
damage that you can cause by
Oh yeah.
Overly-
Especially if
and-
it's covered in foil.
And that
or putting one covered in foil.
and that
Leave
particular
the foil for the leftover pizza, man.
and that particular one that Todd's referencing was on a Sovtech MiG 60. It blew. Every resistor was attached to an output tube, which is 4 or 6 of them, melted at least a dozen leads.
Wow.
So I think the
Wow.
estimate for that guy, just to make this right, not even do anything else in the amp, like we're changing filter caps or doing anything else, just to get it, undo this damage. I think the quote to him was like $350 or $400.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of labor because I have to unbundle all those wires, reroute them one at
man.
a time,
And probably check to
Yes.
continue to damage. It's
Exactly.
like going in to say, yeah, that mole's not looking so good, but we probably need to check out a lot of other things.
Exactly. Yep. You have to. Yeah. So
So the answer is tie it to a chain and use it as a boat anchor?
No, he wants to go ahead and do it.
Oh.
He wants to. He has 2 of them, and he's attached to them. And so I'm like, all right, giddy up, let's make them right. You know,
Okay.
we're gonna do other couple little things to make them a little more stable as well. But
Yeah.
those are solid amps, actually. You know?
Yeah. Awesome. Good to know. Also, I do have a follow-up on what we were talking about earlier. You know, you've mentioned several times about like tube shortages and stuff like that. Actually, I know a lot of guitarists who kind of keep an extra set in their gig bag and stuff like that in case something happens at a show or whatever. And you said you shook your head no.
Well, yeah, and what it's no, it's not a requirement. I don't. How about this? When I was playing full time, especially, I was playing 140 shows a year. You know, all over Ohio, Michigan, everywhere. I didn't carry tubes with me. So I think that says something right there. Here's the thing. If you have a preamp tubes hardly ever fail catastrophically, meaning they just fail, they go open, you don't pass signal. Usually a preamp tube will go microphonic, which fancy terms for you get a little ringing sound, some static.
Right.
If I hear that at a gig, I go, okay, I should swap out a preamp tube in the future. No big deal. If a power tube fails, it almost never just opens, doesn't damage anything else.
Right.
You don't have to get in there and check anything.
It goes kablooey.
It goes kablooey. Even if just the tube fails, and I always tell my customers this, take it to a tech, have them check it out, make sure none of the screen grid resistors are blown, nothing in the HT supply, high voltage is blown, the bias is fine. Because if you just pop in a new set of tubes, just like with the fuse, you can do much more damage.
Right. So while it's on, don't check around and wiggle stuff and stick your fingers in the business.
Use chopsticks.
Well, what are we talking about? I mean,
Well, I think
what are you sticking your fingers in?
But in
I was like, whoa.
In Todd's defense, I think what he was saying is if there is indeed a shortage,
Yes.
should he have them and just to hold on to them, not to put them in an amp?
You know what? I mean, that honestly probably wouldn't be the worst idea because they're not going to go bad. They're not like something perishable, Now the
You're
downside,
bad. You're naughty.
the downside is that
Okay, Chris Farley.
some techs like myself, I really, really, really don't like using customer-owned tubes because I have no control over the quality. And if you buy a tube from somewhere and then I put it in and it blows a week later.
Right, because you check all the tubes before you put, you go through all that stuff.
Well, yeah, and I purposely buy from certain suppliers. I only buy certain brands, certain models.
Well, good thing is
blah.
you're only about 10 minutes away from me.
Yeah.
All right.
There
I've
you
got
go.
tubes. So.
Thank you.
Hey, Todd, what about you?
Well, let me tell you. So I called up my friend Drew Foppy a little while back, and I said, Drew, I love this HX Stomp, but I am really struggling with the idea that I have to have the power cord. I talked about that last time. So what his recommendation was, we talked about a couple things, and he actually shared a great video on his channel. I ended up getting the Fender Engine Room Level 8 power supply. And I had the True Tone CS6. Those are all isolated. It's a fine piece of equipment. These are all 500 milliamp outputs, every single one of them.
Strymon Zuma.
So I got this one. It's also, it was afforded. And anyways, so got all that situated so that the way that you have to actually power the HX Stomp, you have to get this splitter. Voodoo Lab sells a splitter, and then you just hook it in with the green cord that Fender supplies, and also you would have used the same one from the True Tone.
Actually called a combiner.
It's combiner cable, yes, technical term.
Technical.
So now,
Not splitting. It's
the interesting thing, I just wanted to share this part was that he said the HX Stomp is not drawing 1,000 milliamps or an amp. I would think that's one amp, right? Yeah, a single amp. But on startup, when you have all those things plugged in, it does have a pretty big draw. Then it settles. Well, that can disrupt a whole lot of stuff. And then because like on the True Tone, it kind of like says, hey, whoever needs the most, go ahead and take it from those isolated ones. These are guaranteed 500 milliamp draws regardless.
Okay.
So that was that was pretty cool. So I'm like, and I needed to set up a different pedal board for demoing little things and everything. So I'm putting the True Tone on that one.
Nice.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah. But my question was for Rob or Tony or Jared, but probably Rob, because you have to deal with, amps and meters and all that business, is when you are setting up a board. So I started setting up this new one, and I was like, cool, I'm just going to go plug them all in, right? Now, I know for a fact that none of my pedals, aside from the HX draw over 500 milliamps, just because, well, when I say I know for a fact, I know for as much as I know, okay? They're all...
Yeah, most likely.
They're all just regular pedals, right?
Almost nothing draws that much except for.
But if I didn't have 500 and I was working with a True Tone or a one spot or something, if it's not marked on there, because a lot of boutique builders don't, say, oh, this is a milliamp, they just don't.
Yeah, there's a few different things. Number one,
how do you measure it, Rob?
Well, so Todd, I don't know if you know this or not, but I also build custom pedal boards for guys.
That's why I'm asking you.
And that's the first thing I do is I get a list of pedals from them. Then I visit the manufacturer's website, see if they have posted consumption. You're looking for power consumption.
Yep.
And if not, there's a website, I think it's called Stinkfoot. And I don't know what the extension is. I think it's something a website based out of Europe somewhere. Mm-hmm. So the extension something weird, but Stinkfoot.
Hello, you've reached Stinkfoot extension 247.
Exactly. But basically, it's
please put on socks.
You just you go in there and you click on whatever the manufacturer, and they just have all of them listed. I mean, it's because people just post as they so it's like an open source.
But with so many boutique builders that aren't doing
you'll
that,
be amazed how many are on there.
Will I be amazed?
Usually, if I have somebody I'm building a board, 12 pedals, all but one I'll find on Stinkfoot.
Okay,
and there'll be Earthquake or all these.
So if you can't do that,
hold on, we're going down. This is the order I do it. So manufacturer, Stinkfoot. I emailed the manufacturer. And a lot of those boutique guys are more than happy to just tell you exactly what it is. Mm-hmm. So there's no guesswork. Then there's also this tool. I wish I could remember who makes it. It's not Planet Waves. I'll have to tell you about it, and you can post it on.
But you can't
online.
use a regular multimeter for that.
No, you can, but it's much more difficult.
Okay.
This box that they sell. I wish I could remember who makes it, but it's like $30-ish bucks.
Okay.
And it's got the 5.
If you remember.
Yeah,
bring it to the next one.
Well, I don't have it, but I'll send you.
Yeah.
I'll send you. I'll tell you who makes it, so you can post it. But it's a LCD meter, 3-digit display. It has a 5.5 millimeter barrel jack in and out. So you place it in line with whatever pedal, and it measures the current going into your pedal in real time.
Aha!
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of dummy proof, and it's big LED or LCD display, and so that's the last thing you can do. Reading it with a meter's tough though, because what you would actually have to do you would have to jumper one of the connections between two barrels and then insert your meter, and it's kind of janky. So you're better off to spend the $30-$40 for that box. And,
spend the $30-$40.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing that for like somebody else, if you're building a lot of pedals or you're building your own.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great tool just to have even if you're doing it on your own. Oh, and if you're wondering, hey, this pedal isn't working, is it turning on? If you turn on your pedal and it doesn't read anything, then there's a problem with the power supply,
And when you start to get into a higher draw, that's typically when you're talking about a digital pedal or something.
Digital. It's digital. Nothing analog.
Anything
is draw
Strymon,
that much.
you're going to need some amperage.
Yeah, you're going to need 500. Yeah.
Anything along that ilk.
Absolutely.
Maris, etc., etc.
Yep, anything digital. You're absolutely right.
Awesome. That's what I was doing. So, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to just kind of talk to Tony.
Let's
and
chit
stuff.
chat. Let's have coffee talk.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit you with a couple of softballs really quick, and then we're gonna get into some things. So we got some questions. And those include
who's
some
your
of the
favorite
following.
knob?
Nope.
Wouldn't it be great if they said Rob?
Yeah. What is the strangest instrument you've ever worked on?
The strangest instrument I've ever worked on.
Like for his
for
gig?
like a pick guard or just in general
Let's
working
do pick
on
guard.
it?
I'm curious.
Pick guard?
No, what's the strangest instrument you've ever worked on?
Okay, so I'll assume that means what's the strangest pick guard that you or what strangest
What's the
instrument?
strangest instrument you've ever worked on?
Answer
Just
it
say
both
whatever.
ways.
So is that like, did you work on like, the Devo Cloud guitar?
No, I did not
That
work
would
on
be
the
a
Devo
good
Cloud
example
guitar.
of like, what's the strangest guitar?
He's telling you how to answer the question.
Tony,
too.
what's the strangest guitar you've ever
I
worked
remember
on?
when I worked on the Devo Cloud guitar. No,
You would have.
No,
You
I
would've loved
would
it.
say one of the strangest ones, but it's actually a pretty cool guitar. Was a choral Belzuki, and it's basically a
Oh.
12-string,
Yes, I've actually seen that guitar.
and it has kind of a butterfly-shaped pickguard on it, like an acoustic.
I think that's in that
Type-
book that
type
you
in-
gave me for my birthday.
Type in Belzuki,
Belzuki? How do you spell that?
Belzuki.
Yep, I got that
Yeah.
And it was an interesting thing because the guard was long gone off of it, but I could still kind of see a shadow line of the shape. And then, of course, I have some reference materials.
Yeah.
And so I think I came up with something that was pretty close to the original, and it was a vast improvement over where it was because it was kind of worn through in some spots there. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Coral Belzuki.
Well, all right. I like that. See, look at that. Wasn't so hard when you follow the direction.
Yes.
Cripes.
Thank you.
All right. So here's one other one. What is your favorite flavor of Cheetos?
I'm going to say I like the extra spicy Cheetos.
Okay. Not the flamin'.
Not the flamin'.
Not the jalapeno.
I'm drawing the line at the extra spicy, extra hots.
Okay, extra hots. You heard it here. All right, let's do one more softball and then we'll get into some good stuff here. Let's see. Have you ever been punched in the nose?
Yes.
Who's asking these questions?
I said, people send in your questions. Anything
Tony grew up in the
goes.
60s
Wow.
and 70s. You know he got punched in the nose.
Yes.
It was okay back then. In fact,
What'd you
that's
do?
parents
And no one got
advocated that.
arrested.
No,
Yeah.
no, but before the
He stole
punch.
your skateboard. You go punch him in the nose.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. I don't know how many people are familiar with Ray Boom Boom Mancini. He was a professional boxer, but at the time he grew up in my neighborhood.
He punched you?
Well, so he was friends with the family across the street, and everybody was drinking out of the hose. And I go to take a drink out of the hose, and he says, "Nobody said that you could take a drink out of the hose."
What a jerk.
Well, I mean, he's gotten much better. He's actually a pretty nice guy now. So, and this is when we're 12, probably.
Sure.
12 or 13, maybe.
Okay.
So now he's already been in boxing matches, okay? And, on a non-professional level, but still, he's a little guy, but he's feisty. And so I said, "No, you can't tell me what to do. You don't even live here." And so we face off, and I think at that point no punches were thrown, and my mom comes out and says, "You kids, stop it right now." So in that instance, I did not get punched in the nose, but I have been punched in the nose several times, and it does not feel good and usually results in blood flow.
You should have lied and said you did get punched in the nose.
No, but my
Yeah.
claim to fame is yes, I did fight Boom Boom Mancini. But now you know the whole story.
Yes. And now you know
I have a follow-up
the
question.
rest of the story.
How many times have you been punched in the nose then?
Oh, I've been at least 2 or 3 times.
Oh, okay. That's the way you said that. I thought it was going to be like double digits or something.
No.
So you're like,
no.
I've been punched in the nose plenty of times. I'm like, holy crap. What is
No.
he doing?
No.
I had an older brother,
sudden
man.
brain
I got
injuries.
punched in the nose on a daily basis.
In the nose?
I could see that.
Yeah. In the face,
Jeez.
nose, head, wherever.
Mostly
I
in
would
the head,
pick on our youngest brother, and the older brother would beat me up for picking on youngest brother. I just didn't know when to stop picking on youngest brother because I had a beating coming every time. And then when I told Dad that Andy beat me, my older brother beat me up, and my mom would chime in and said, "Well, you were picking on Joe," and then everything was even Steven at that point. So
Wow.
Let's see here. We'll do one more. This was kind of fun. Let's see here. If you could borrow one guitar from a famous guitarist for one night, a one-night stand with their guitar, whose and what would it be?
I mean, I think just to borrow one for one night, I'd give my buddy JB a call and say, "Hey,
my buddy JB." Wow. Okay, where do we have the name drop cowbell? John Bozowski?
No, John Bentwhistle.
John Bentwhistle, yes.
No, Joe Bonamassa. I would call him and say, "Hey, do you mind if I borrow one of those?"
Famous Amos.
No, I don't. I am not a big Flying V.
He doesn't
fan.
like the V.
Yeah.
One of the bursts.
I would definitely want one of the bursts that are, getting cobwebs in the corner of his storage facility.
Sure.
Just to play it.
Okay.
Actually, I did get a chance to play.
Well, that's
one of
okay.
those, but that's another story.
Yes. All right. Let me cross that question off the good questions, everybody. Let's see here. All right. So, Tony, you've been on the show for a long time, and a lot of recent
30, 40 years at least.
Yeah, at least. A lot of people
Seems like
may
it.
not even know how that started because we have grown so much since that happened.
So much, so fast.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that is because I wasn't sitting there having to flip and doggy paddle a whole show by myself.
Well, it all started. Jared was the driving force in that.
Yeah.
Because I knew Jared and Jared.
You gotta get my friend Tony on here. You're gonna love him.
That's right.
So then what did I do?
Told you.
So you
I
called me?
emailed and I called, and you didn't return either of those. And I said, you know what? That guy can go stick it up his butt. And then he's like, no, he's a nice guy once you get to know him. Jared has a lot of those kind of friends.
So I finally, I had some time. There was some crazy stuff going on at the time, but needless to say, I did dodge you for a while. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well,
I
and
did that.
rightfully so. It was rough at the beginning.
If you remember this, Todd, it was pretty much the same with me too.
I know. It's the same way
Now
with
we
a
can't
lot
get
of
rid of
people.
them.
Not
Yeah.
me. I was like, I want to be on.
No.
So,
When do I get to be on? Do I get to be on?
Jared said, with his big arms crossed like a giant genie in front of this tiny little folding table, when I said, you should come on the show, he's like, why would you want to talk to me? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't even care if you were selling like Beanie Babies. You're like, you got to be hilarious. Let's talk. So it was great.
But no, but I had a blast. I mean, I had a really good time on my episode, which is, I don't even know what number that was. It was back a ways.
Yeah, it was.
A long time ago.
30 something.
And then I must have done okay. I must have passed the audition.
Yeah.
Because Todd said, well, you want to come back next week? And, so slowly but surely.
I was just so impressed with your we gelled right away.
Yeah.
And I absolutely admire and respect the knowledge you have for these things. the ability to break a not terribly expensive, though I don't want to replace that chair.
Gotta do it now.
Yes.
Well, that was an X chair.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad Rob's sitting in mine.
Yeah.
He's not.
No,
So-
I'm not using yours anymore.
Legitimately, I wanted to just, I say nice things about you guys all the time. I really do. But Tony, this show owes a lot to you.
Oh, thanks.
Because you are so willing to share of your time and your knowledge, and you do it in a fun and engaging way. And I'm just really, truly grateful that you are part of the Guitar Knobs.
Well, thank you. I mean, I wouldn't be doing it if I wasn't having fun, and Jared wouldn't, and Rob wouldn't. We enjoy doing this stuff. It's a bunch, it's a couple of guys talking about gear.
Yeah.
If we weren't doing it on a podcast, we'd probably be sitting at a bar somewhere doing it.
Right.
So, here it's a lot less expensive to drink.
Yes, indeed. So hopefully that's something that you guys have all picked up on listening. We can literally ask Tony just about anything, and he has
the wealth of knowledge.
It's remarkable.
Well,
breadth of
I mean,
He
I mean,
reads a
it's
lot.
just because I read.
He reads a lot.
And I've been at this for so long now that, I mean, I've forgotten more things than most people will remember.
So one of the things that I thought would be really fun to touch on, you are always talking about some guitar that you have packed away in your collection, and I wanted to find out a little bit of like how you got started on that collection. What were some of the ups and downs and highlights, and also like where, that's been a long time accumulating. And I know a lot of people who do get into gear, they just at some point say, I have everything I wanted. I don't need anything else. Right. And there are other people that are never, ever satisfied. So I want to do a gut check on like, where are you with all that? So start at the first part of that, if you don't mind.
Well, I think, I have had some really great guitars over the years, and I have gotten rid of some guitars that I regret getting rid of, but, that's all part of collecting. And
Name one.
I was going to say, what's the one?
The one, if I could get it back again, would be the first real guitar that I ever got, and that was a 1966 Fender Jaguar.
What color?
Sunburst.
Cool.
But bound board blocks.
Nice.
And I got it up in Youngstown in 1981. 80 or 81. At a pawn shop with an original hard shell case for $175.
Oh my gosh.
Well, until the late 80s, early 90s, nobody wanted them.
Yeah. I mean, Jazzmasters, Jaguars,
Any of those
Mustangs
offsets.
even.
Yeah.
Any of the offsets.
1981, I was
Johnny Marr
going
for
to
that.
I was going to like preschool or diaper school in 1981.
Well,
I
there
don't
you
even
go.
think I was doing
Diaper
that.
school.
I was
that?
watching
Slow
Price is
learner.
Right with Mom, and then Days of Our Lives came on after that, and then she made me a bologna sandwich.
Nice.
Speaking of baloney, Tony.
1981.
1981. So, and that's one that, I will have to say, although it was done well, the bridge pickup was dead. And this is at a time where you couldn't just go out and order a Jaguar pickup. And there were maybe a handful of people rewinding at that time. So I did what every good American did at that time. I routed it for a humbucker.
Oh, no.
I saw this coming.
Yay! That's about all you could do back then.
That was all you could do. There was a
and
store.
it was actually more useful tone-wise.
Yeah, it was definitely. And I bypassed the rhythm
crazy
circuit,
electronics.
and I just put a toggle switch down in where the three switches were, and it worked great for me. It was that was my main stage guitar when I was playing in the 80s, and but that's one. As soon as it was like mid to late 80s, and I was kind of out of the music scene for a while, and I was getting married and all this other stuff, and a guy that I was working with said, "Oh, I'd like to buy a guitar," and I sold it for like $250 at that time, and I thought I was doing okay.
About what they were selling for even then.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, and
That's a lot of money back then, though.
relatively speaking, that was. I mean,
That's like
I would say-
$500.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
double it. Yeah, that would be today's value.
But that guitar, if it wasn't routed,
yeah,
if it was original right now, would sell for original finish.
five.
I was going to say six.
Five or 6,000.
Yeah. But I mean, the nice thing about it is, if somebody wanted to buy a different pick guard, pop it on there, it would have. You wouldn't know that it
Yeah.
was routed underneath. I mean,
I would know.
I would divulge that if I were going to sell it, of course.
Right.
But
Not
yeah,
a big deal, man. That design just was not very useful for rock and roll. If you were a jazz player, it was great, but
no, not even
Not
for a
for
jazz.
rock and roll.
If you're-
That's when they came up with the Jazzmaster.
That's the Jazzmaster. The surf guitar was.
oh, I'm sorry, you got the Jaguar.
Jaguar, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was cool, and that's one if I could, and I would take it back in its state. I mean, with the humbucker in it and
Yeah.
everything, and
It
it
was
was
yours.
yours.
Yeah.
So somebody up in northeastern Ohio or Pennsylvania still has it.
I think a fella
That's
named
cool.
Kurt did the same thing.
Yeah, actually, I think he used two humbuckers though.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's about the best thing he ever did.
So that would be the one that if I wanted to, If I could get back, I probably would. And over the years, there were certain things, like I think in my original interview we talked about how I always wanted, the George Harrison 12-string, the Rickenbacker, and I was able to find one a couple 10 or 12 years ago now, I guess, not a couple of years. And that sort of solved that, but I'm still hungry for guitars. As we talked about last time.
Yep.
When did you kind of say, "Ooh, this is kind of cool"? Cuz like I remember when I was a kid, I was like the desire to collect something, to say to self-identify is such a big thing when you're growing up. Every kid goes through some element of that where they're just like, I'm going to collect rocks, or I'm going to collect bottle caps. That was a big thing when I was a kid. I'm going to collect baseball cards or pencils, or like there's a load of those things. And the idea is, in a house of where you don't own anything, this is mine. At some point in time, that kind of transitions into the guitar acquisition thing. When did you kind of go like, no, this is a thing I'm in doing?
Well, I mean, as a kid, I think collecting kind of runs in my family. My grandmother collected postage stamps.
Yes.
I started collecting stamps as
I thought
a
you were
kid.
going to say husbands or something like that.
No, she only had one, and he was...
That would have been good.
Yeah, that was more. He collected Stroh's bottles.
My grandmother collected bail bonds.
But my uncle, he collected. He had model trains and guns.
Yeah,
and in fact, that was his guitar. It was the first guitar that I learned to play on.
Oh, cool.
An old Stella, and so those. I think collecting is kind of in my blood. I mean, I know. It definitely is now, because I still, there are certain things that
your shop is living proof of that.
I collect. Well, we talked earlier about books. I've got a huge library of guitar books. I've got way too many guitars, but
Wait, pause that.
I know the remedy for that.
If you had to put a number on how many guitars you think you have in your collection,
in locked away in a
like total, like for
safe
insurance.
place.
I mean, are we talking? Can you get it within like 10, like 100 to 110, or?
oh no, well under 100.
Okay, really?
Well under 100.
Okay.
Yeah, because
I was not going to be shocked at all if you said 100.
No, I don't. No, I don't have 100. I probably at this point have close to 70.
Okay, that's
and I mean, I kind of do a thing where I feel a little bit guilty about buying something new if I don't sell something.
so it's a one in, one out.
Yeah, usually, or sometimes two out, one in. Depending on what I'm buying, and so as much I'd really would like to keep. I wish I would have kept everything. It's funny you should ask, because I do have a spreadsheet that I have all of the.
I have that.
All of my. Yeah, actually, I did send you a copy of that. I didn't send you the copy of my sold guitars, though.
No.
That is over 200.
So you've actually kept track when you've sold. Wow,
Yeah.
That's
over,
cool.
That's
you
over.
are a nerd.
Yeah. Well, it's something that I always wanted to do to remind myself of things that I had.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the list isn't complete, but
I've done that before. Just like, oh yeah, what, I forgot I had that guitar, and then after like 40 or something, I'm like, okay,
Yeah, no, I keep a sheet, and I just keep adding to it as I sell stuff and as I buy stuff. So
cool.
But yeah, it is a true sickness. The quest is still there, even though I have really just about every guitar that I've really wanted to have. There's still always something new or something a little bit different that, I just, as I tell my wife, I could be spending it on heroin and, other things. So.
Those are the
first
options?
Thing. Yeah, that's... Wow.
But,
then.
I could be wasting this on massage parlors and heroin instead of an IRA. Right. So be thankful.
Right.
That's right.
Those are the two choices. Great.
Jeez.
I forgot about the massage parlor.
Yes. Hey, let's do another quick question here.
Okay.
Can he build from CAD files, or does he prefer to trace old pick guards?
So It depends, and I'll qualify that. CAD files are not something that I can work with directly. I can, however, work with most digital files, things like EPS, Illustrator files. If I can,
So if you have a CAD file, just convert it into an EPS.
yeah,
and you're
because
good.
a DXF and some of the others, they don't.
Will you hand cut all of these things?
I do sometimes, or I have a company that I work with here locally that I have templates laser cut.
Gotcha.
So I have a number of customers who design things and they shoot them out as Illustrator files. I'm able to import those, set them up how my guy needs to have them done, and then I'll have those laser cut for master templates.
Got it.
It's almost better if it's not going to be if you need one guard and not 10, 20, 30, 50, 100. It's almost better to send your guard because I can duplicate most guards unless they're damaged or warped severely. It's much easier and I can get a much better fit. A lot of people say, "Hey, can I just send a tracing?" Well, yeah, you can, but I can't guarantee it's going to fit. And I don't know how you did the tracing.
With crayon.
Yeah. Use the extra wide markers. That really helps.
And on 3 pieces of paper, which I have to kind of tape together.
So I would say the best thing to do, and I always answer this way. I said, if you have a guard, send it to me.
Send it in.
I can duplicate it. I can guarantee you that it's going to fit when I send it back to you.
I've had you cut at least 4 guards, and they've one was a Japanese Strat, one was an Explorer, and not one yet has matched up perfectly to a template you've had.
Yeah.
So that's how varied these things are.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's, and the worst ones are things like Jaguars that have metal control plates, and everything
has to fit just.
It has to fit perfectly. Otherwise, you get gaps and things like that. So it's,
send in the guard.
It saves everybody time and money and headaches.
It's going to be perfect.
And it's as perfect as it can be. But yeah, there's, people are, they say, oh, it's a Strat. Oh, it's a Tele. Oh, it's a P bass. Oh, it's a J bass. Yeah, come over to my shop and see the bins that I have of all of those things. And they all,
house.
And
it's
they
crazy.
And they vary so much that it's just so much easier if I have an original guard. And even if you're making modifications to it, I want to change that, single coil to a humbucker or whatever.
Right, but for placement. Yeah.
I get the outline right. I know where it needs to go where top to bottom between, so it's centered on line with the bridge and the neck. And it's just so much better. But I guess the original question was, can I use CAD files? And, if they're exported into a format that I can import them and send them to my laser guy, yes.
There we go.
Amazing. Well, that's a good question.
That is a good question,
Shall I do a
actually.
follow-up real quick? And we'll dive into some other stuff?
Sure.
Okay. Is Todd more handsome or witty? That's an actual question. I don't know who sent that in, but...
Are we on candid camera?
I will say that Todd is more witty.
I'll take that.
But he's not an unpleasant looking man.
I appreciate that.
I can say that.
I also appreciate whoever sent that in. That's fantastic. All right, so let's get back into some of the things maybe that you are pursuing. What are a couple of your sort of like, ooh, looking for this? I'm on the lookout for this, or I'd buy it in a heartbeat.
I'm a sucker for an inexpensive guitar that should be priced much higher. I like a guitar that maybe needs some work or some upgrades and things like that. I got started, back in the 90s, I guess, with getting Squier bullets, Japanese Squier bullets. And for those who don't know, the bullet originally came out as a Fender American model. A lot, when U.S. production shut down around 83, I think it was, Fender Japan got, now this is according to legend, a lot of parts and things from Fender USA were sent over to Fender Japan to make new models. And the Squiers, the early Japanese Squiers, were some of the best guitars I think that Squier/Fender ever put out. They all have a very similar neck, but the Squier Bullets in particular, at that time, I think we were able to get them for $100, maybe $150 if it was super clean. And the necks were essentially Tele necks. And I would piece together, the body was slightly different than a Tele, but I would get Tele bodies and add that neck to it. And it made a great guitar. There's lots of guitars out there that, even though they're not super expensive, they can be made into really decent instruments. And especially if you're just starting, or if there's a certain sound you're going for, or if you just want something to experiment with. I mean, the Squier 51s are another example. Those are basically a Strat body with a Tele neck, and it had the big, like a 51P bass pick guard that went over, covered both horns. And there are a lot of people out there who experimented with those and changed out pickups and put new bridges and different things on. So they're a really good test bed for, trying out different things without spending a lot of money, or at least you have a good starting point, because they're decent made instruments. But
Have you ever been into Burns? Like the
I
Burns
had a Bison a long time. It was a reissue, one of the Burns Bisons.
Because those original ones are pretty expensive.
Oh yeah, well the UK models are just outrageously expensive. But yeah, I thought they were, and the reissue was pretty good. But it's the Bison in particular is kind of an unwieldy instrument. It's got those big steer horns. And it's that one didn't stay in the collection very long.
Yeah,
but
was it green?
Yeah, it was the green and black burst. Yeah,
it's a crazy kind of fun looking guitar.
Yeah, but there's lots of great ones out there. I mean, right now it seems like the hot ticket were the original Dan Electro reissues, the ones that were made in Korea.
Not the Longhorns.
Not the Longhorns.
We went through that.
I love the Longhorns.
You would.
I love them. But no, like the U2s, and things like that. Those.
It seems like they keep reissuing that.
Well, they do, but they've changed the formula. A lot of the new reissues are solid body instruments. Mm-hmm. The first reissues, the Korean-made ones, were made like the originals, where they had masonite top and back,
right,
and a pine frame. And in fact,
for those who don't know what masonite is the stuff that clipboards are made out of, essentially.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And that was also, so my interest in old Dan Electros led me to go to the original series of Reverends, which were also made the same way. The first run of USA Reverend guitars were made pretty much like a stylish Dan Electro, and had masonite top and back. Joe Naylor did an incredible job with those guitars. Now, most of the newer lines they're an import line, and they're mostly solid body instruments. But the original ones they were just great guitars. I think I had a Spy and a Rocco at one point in time. So.
Excellent.
Those usually go a little over $1,000 a piece now.
Yeah, they do.
The original line, yeah.
And I mean, when I got mine,
were they nice to play? Because kind of like the Japanese
super
ones.
Nice.
Really?
Super nice.
Okay.
Yeah,
they're great guitars.
Yeah, the original ones, as I'm told, legend goes, that the very earliest ones had all parts Strat necks on them that had an extra notch cut in. So it had, if you've seen the stair step headstock that's on.
Wait, are you talking about what guitar you switched up?
I'm talking about Reverends.
Okay, because I thought you were still talking about the Dan Electros.
Well, no, actually, but in both cases, yes.
Okay. I
mean, the original run of the Danos, the reissues, honestly, I think they play better than the 50s and 60s.
That's my question. Those old ones, because a lot of people love the Japanese ones and they love the Taiscos Sorry,
Taisco, like Seiko.
Like Seiko. Get that right, everybody.
I was just talking to Joe Naylor at NAMM, and I said, hey, man, I'm kind of looking for one of those original run Masonite, and he's like, I only got one of them, and I'll sell it to you. And I'm like, oh yeah. He's like, yeah, it's like the number one. It's the first one I ever built.
And you didn't buy it?
It was a 6-digit number.
Oh,
Holy mackerel! Well, somebody will buy it.
Not 6. It's a 5-digit.
I was gonna say, you including decimal point in there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's a 5-digit number.
That's still a lot.
That's ridiculous.
It's the first one. I think he could easily get what he said he wanted.
Oh,
for
absolutely.
it. I actually
Absolutely.
sat there and thought about it because I could have given him that money, and I'm like, well,
yeah.
nah. And then I said, no, you keep that one. That's yours.
No,
you
you
keep
just go
that.
ahead
He's
and
like,
hold on.
yeah. Well,
That
he
was
said
ni-
my wife
I don't
would
want
kill
to take
me.
that.
That was
from you.
nice of you, Jared.
I mean, I don't know.
Cash in the Roth IRA and
But
I could have just wrote him a check, and he said his wife would kill him. So I'm like, oh yeah.
Okay.
Don't
so
want that.
along those same lines, I mean, I like guitars like that. I like the Eastwood line because, again, it is in many cases, the Eastwood reissues look the part, but they're actually a lot of times better than the pieces that they're replicating. Because let's face it, a lot of this Japanese models and other models from the 60s and maybe in the 50s, 60s mostly, I think is what they focus on in 70s.
Yeah.
They were not super great, well-made
Right.
guitars.
They look cool.
Yeah.
They don't play cool.
No. They hurt your hands.
Yeah.
Now, every Eastwood I've ever owned has felt great. It plays well, sounds good. It may not be exactly the piece, but they're replicating what
Pretty dang
were
close.
cheap guitars.
Pert near there.
So and Mike Robinson was another one of our guests. we
Yeah,
had
he was
on.
great.
And check out that line. That's another great line of guitars.
Exactly. All right, Tony. Pina colada or getting caught in the rain?
I love Making Love at Midnight.
please,
I don't have a
nobody comment.
response
Just
for
let it go.
Okay.
With what?
Move on.
Thanks. So, anyways,
That's
Okay.
part of the song too.
yeah, exactly. All right. Now you have gas.
Excuse me.
We've established gear acquisition syndrome.
Yeah, absolutely. Guilty as charged.
What do you think for right now with types of models and everything that are coming out? Do you think it's easier to or harder to become a collector at this point, or start understanding how to collect? Is there any kind of like advice you can give to somebody who might be wanting to? How do you do this well?
What I will say is, when I was buying things that were by today's standards, super cheap prices, I thought they were too much.
Yeah.
I used to have like a limit of, if I were buying something, it might be $250 or $300. Well, now I've conservatively doubled that.
At zero.
Well, I'm just saying, I think perspective is very important. And you might think that you're paying a lot of money for something, but if you look at the market trends and if you buy smart, and you buy something that has a lot of upside potential, I don't think you will lose money. Especially, you might have to hold on to things for 10, 15 years. But I think that if you can find something that you think is popular and that you enjoy, I don't buy things just to say, oh, check that box. I've got a Tele Custom, blah 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 blah.
Right.
It has to be something that I really will play and enjoy.
Do you think that you follow what you think you want more than going to a show like I don't mean NAMM or something like that, but like going to a show and you're like, ooh, I need that.
I've had those reactions before, and I have also. There's only a handful of guitars that I've bought with the under the guise of this being a good investment.
I've made I've told myself that every single time.
Well, it's I mean, the older I get, the more I realize these are tools, and if you're not going, if you're not going to use them, it's probably better off to let someone else have a go with it.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I like having a pretty full arsenal too.
Yeah.
And we were talking a couple of weeks ago. I mean, I was going through cases and things like that, saying, "Oh, I forgot I had that." And you go through the list, and it's almost, I feel guilty about it.
First world problems for sure.
First world problems.
Yeah.
You're searching on Reverb for a guitar. You're like, boy, I'd sure like to have one of those. And
I
then the next
do.
week you're like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot I bought one of those already.
Okay.
But yeah, I think anybody that wants to collect guitars, figure out what your budget is. I know there are a lot of people out there that say, well, I only want one really good, really expensive guitar.
Knock
Fine.
yourself out.
I'm not that guy.
Neither am I. Are you that guy, pal? You that guy, pal? Are you? Yeah. Yes, I am. Okay, here's a question. Checkerboard pickguard material.
Yes.
Now, I'm not sure if this is a question about actual like checkerboard flat pickguard material, or if he or she is referencing the like a binding, like a checkerboard binding,
I think
or
they're
or herringbone binding.
Probably referring to flat pickguard material.
Okay.
So, up until pretty recently, I could get what was essentially screen printed checkerboard on the backside of clear, black and white checkerboard. The company that was making that is out of business, so that has been hard to find, or impossible to find, really.
But you could use any other kind of print. I mean, you could put gift wrap paper on the backside of a clear thing and it would look cool.
Oh, yeah. I have a lot of people that I make clear guards for, and that's exactly what they do.
That'd be fun. A super full-blown Christmas themed guitar. That'd be kind of weird. Just thinking about that parts caster, that would be cool. We should make one and then give it away.
On a couple of Brad Paisley's guitars, they have my...
We should give a Brad Paisley guitar away.
Let me talk to Bill Crook. But there are clear guards on there that I work with Bill on Brad's and other Crook guitars.
Yeah.
And that's, there's one Paisley design that he actually drew up and is on the back side of clear.
Yeah.
And that's, he loves that. That was his design he came up with.
Well, and that's how they actually did the Paisley Telecasters. That was paper on the top, wasn't it? And then
it was wallpaper.
They glassed it. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Wallpaper.
And that was actually made right here in Columbus, Ohio at the Borden Company.
Oh, how about that?
So there you go, a little
All right.
tidbit of information. But yeah, there's no reason you can't do that. I mean, in a pinch, if Rick Nielsen called and said, hey, I need a new checkerboard pickguard, I could probably make one out of cut vinyl and maybe black squares and then shoot the backside with white lacquer, and it would have the same effect as screen printing it.
Well, hope that doesn't happen, because then you got to do all that stuff. But the other part, I think, is a good addition to that. You bind a lot of older pick guards, usually on like
arch
tops and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And do you get a lot of requests to do non-traditional binding, like some other kind of like herringbone or checker?
Generally not. I think the people that have high-end arch tops that they're trying to replace.
For like a regular, non-super expensive arch top.
I've made a few. I've made some bound telly guards. I've made some less expensive arch tops, like for an L48 Gibson, that people wanted to upgrade it, give it a little nicer look. There's options out there, but by and large, most of them want traditional, thick outer stripe with, either 2 or 4 inside stripes. I
think the checker or herringbone checkerboard is so awesome looking.
Yeah. Well, my favorite use of that is on like the Buck Owens the Sparkle Telecasters, and it's it almost looks like rope around the outside because instead of putting a white outer binding, they put a black outer binding.
Yeah.
And it really looks like rope around the outside of the edge.
One of our earlier episodes, Jared, maybe you even remember recording this one. We couldn't find a room to save our life at the place I was working at, and we did Red Rocket guitars, and it was, he did those bindings on all of. Oh man, It looks so cool, super cool.
Nice.
I remember that specifically. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Here's another one. As far as instruments you've worked on, what is the most valuable guitar you've ever worked on?
I would say that it would be down to one of two of Joe Bonamassa's guitars. I did a new guard for his 355, ES355, the red guitar that his guard was crumbling. And then there was the one, why can't I think of the name of the player, but it was the Les Paul that had a flag pick guard on it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Let me put that on hold.
Well, while you're doing that, and so I don't have to hear the trumpet anymore, here's another.
I had to finish it, man.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I know. Next question.
So we talked about the 355. Oh, the other guitar. It was also by that Joe owns now, Joe Bonamassa. It was Glenn Hughes from Deep Purple.
Yeah.
So he had a Les Paul that had this flag design on the pickguard, and Joe did not want to send me the original pickguard, which is fine. So he had his tech send a very high resolution photograph of it. And I was able to do some color printing. It doesn't look exactly right because there's a lot of wear and tear on this particular pickguard.
But it probably looks right on stage. Right?
It looked great on stage, and I was sworn to secrecy for a period of time because he didn't want anybody to know that wasn't the original guard. But he was concerned about touring with that guitar and making the guard worse than it could be.
Right.
So that's probably one of the highest. Or the
You have to show that to me in confidence.
Yes.
Okay, if you could have one piece of gear for all time and eternity from your collection, past or present, forsaking all others, what would it be?
Well, I think we kind of answered that. I think.
Did we?
Jaguar.
I mean,
That's the one? All of your collection goes out. A big moving van pulls up. Everything goes in the truck. See you later. But you get that Jag back?
Because he can't have it back in reality. That's why.
No, maybe not. Maybe not. If everything else had to go,
yeah, it would.
No.
Yes, come on. You know you want it back, Tony Balloon.
I
Well,
do
he
want
does,
it
but
back.
that's not the question.
Yeah, no, I think. I mean, and we've asked, this. What's the if your house is on fire, what guitar would you grab?
Right.
It's my Rick 12 string. The 360.
You'd want to tune that for the rest of your life?
I'm used to. I had.
Oh my God.
The largest collection of electric 12 strings at one point in time known to mankind.
But oh my goodness. And the only thing worse than tuning it is doing the intonation.
No, they're and you don't want it. So I'm glad
big-
you brought that up.
with a Bigsby.
It's like going to be like a tempered thing.
No, because so for a period of time, Rickenbacker also makes a 12 saddle bridge for a 12 string, and it's too perfect. The intonation is too perfect. It doesn't. It starts not sounding like a Rick above the 5th fret. There's some sort of out of tune chorusing going on. Especially on the octave strings.
And that's where you'd hear, especially from like the Birds. That's where it would just like totally ring out.
Oh yeah, because you're talking about such, a thin string versus a thick core string, and
Yeah, it
it's
can't be
not
said at the same point,
intonation.
yeah.
So I actually switched. I had a 12-string bridge on my 12-string or 12 saddle bridge on my 12-string, and I switched it back to the original 6.
And when you did that, I was like, oh yeah, it sounds right.
Now it sounds like a Rickenbacker.
Yeah. All right. You can transplant any player's left hand to yours. Who would it be?
Yeah, that's kind of a personal question.
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix?
He's answering them. Jared.
Jared's like, well, you're taking too long, man.
You might want to answer him too.
I'll take Clapton's left hand.
Clapton's left hand.
He's slow hand.
I know. Yeah.
I'm
All right.
slow. I got a slow right that matches the slow left.
All right. Well, speaking of that, what about the right hand?
Oh, wow. I'll take Eddie Van Halen.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good-
That's kind of a mismatch. Something's going to...
Yeah.
You got a carbuncle happening right
He's
there.
gonna have four of the notes for every one of them.
Exactly.
It's gonna be like
More like 8.
No, you know what? I'm gonna go back. I do weird things sometimes. I started listening to the lightning fast fingers of Roy Clark.
Oh,
yeah.
This album, it will just totally blow you away. He's playing
Roy's
on
amazing.
the Jazz Master on the cover, which is very cool. This is his, I guess, pre-country days. My God, was he so good?
Oh, yeah.
He was, and fat. You talk about fast. Yeah, and Chet Atkins
On
was
the left
another
hand.
one.
There you go. Right hand Roy, left hand Chet.
There you go.
Woo, man.
Unbelievable. Now, Les Paul was pretty good, too.
All right. Let's see here. Okay, we're winding this up. You won the lottery.
Woo!
You're going to buy Jared, a guitar. You can't buy Jared.
Obviously, it's not going to be a Les Paul custom.
Money is no object. What do you buy him?
I'm going to buy Jared.
A ukulele.
That would be perfect. Yes. Yes. I'm going to buy Jared a Hello Kitty guitar.
Okay.
money, no
Thanks,
option.
Tony Baloney.
Yeah.
What?
Money's no object. You're going to do that?
Okay, I'll be nice.
You'll pick something expensive
it's
just to
Jared.
amuse
of
the
all
fella.
the guitars. What do you
Yeah.
think of when you think Jared?
I think of a Martin veterans model,
He already has that.
but not the newest ones.
Play nice.
Play nice. Play nice. No, Jared, for you, I'm buying you a wonderful 58 or 59 burst.
I'll
it.
take it. Thank you.
It's
I would have
yours.
thought you'd go with like a stapled a staple pickup like Black Beauty.
I take that too, but I'll take the burst. That's
See,
worth more.
and I would have thought like a very early '60s custom SG.
Dude, he's got
Again,
like four of them.
he's got them. He does not have a burst, though.
I don't have a real custom, but I did.
No, not a custom.
But I don't have a real burst.
a standard. You don't have a standard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy needs a standard.
All right. Okay, the last question. Does anybody want to guess what this is? Rob, you want to guess what it is?
How could we have guessed what these questions were? I mean, we've asked
Okay,
you questions.
that's a
I
How
good
do
many
thing.
times you've been punched in
Pretty
the
random.
Punch in
Yeah.
the nose, Cheetos.
All right.
What
Ton-
color's underwear is? I don't know.
Does
where we're
Tony
going with
know how to water ski?
this. Jeez.
I do not know how to water ski.
Really? You've never been water
I have
skiing,
never water skied in my
Oh,
life.
that would be so fun to watch.
I am a piss poor
guys-
swimmer.
Tony? You guys seen the
And
great
let him
outdoors,
finish.
right?
What? Go ahead, Tony.
I'm a terrible swimmer, and I mean, I've gotten a lot better. My wife, has really. She worked with me when we first got married to get in the pool, learn to swim better. So I'm okay in the water, but it still freaks me out, and I don't float well.
Well,
you would-
the right side up you can't. I'm pretty sure you float pretty well upside.
Face down. Yeah, the dead man float I've got going pretty well.
First minute might be tough.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it's, it's, well, and the other thing is if I'm in the ocean, if if I get out, they get a bunch of people saying, "Hey, push him back in! Push him back in!" He's
gonna
beached
stop.
himself.
Tony.
All right.
Being great outdoors.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
your visual.
No, I've never water skied, and I respect people who can water ski because it looks like a ton of work. I mean, I could just imagine the pull on your
It's
legs.
so fun, though.
Yeah.
It really is. It's,
Yeah.
it's a
You've
watered-
Oh, yeah.
When
Rob?
you're younger, it's a lot
I
easier.
also don't float.
Yeah.
What is that?
I don't know.
I can't float.
I mean, I'm okay in salt water.
I can actually float. And I'm
changes
a
I mean,
giant.
I
chemical-
surfed I did all of the water sports growing
Yeah.
up, but
I could do the basic water skiing. I couldn't do all the trick skiing and all that stuff, but I was pretty good on the basics.
yeah.
If you can imagine.
Can't-
It took a
I just
big
want
boat to
everybody
get
to
me
see the
up.
visual of like Jared Jared in a water skiing competition. Jared Jared's on his third run. He's approaching the ramp. Just puts a hole right through the ramp. His car's a big Jared-shaped hole right through the ramp.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh my
All right. Well, with that, we're going to transition out of here. Jared's got a few things he wants to share with us.
Yes, that's correct. It's a really good Would You Rather this week. So let me go ahead and while I'm walking down the street, I'm going to sing you this.
Can you be excited about it?
Would you rather?
What the?
This week's Would You Rather is from our good old longtime pal, Jonathan Jerusik.
JJ.
So the last 10 years, you've been in a pretty successful band. You've got a lot of band fans that hang around.
Nice.
You released a good 4 albums. When one day you're walking down the street, just
No.
like that, and your whole band decides they want to quit. You're floored, man, and you don't know what to do, but you don't want to quit, right? So, would you rather start a new band under the same name and hope that you don't lose your following and your fans and the band people that hang around? Or would you rather start a new band from scratch and let the other That's all I got.
What was that last
Let
word?
let the other BA. That's it. That's the end of it.
Bah.
Is it a sheep band?
Let the other bah.
Jared,
BA.
Anchorman. I'm
Yeah.
Ron Burgundy.
Yeah. Oh no, he did that before. Yeah.
See,
Okay.
you could use that when
Jared,
Jared
check
says
your
something.
phone. Hand out of the Cheez-Its box.
Whoa,
It's 4 or 5 albums, and then you put it in a bar.
That was great because we were all just like, what the hell
We
was
thought he
that?
froze up.
So the last 10 years, you've been in a pretty successful band. Released 4 good albums, then one day you're walking down the street, and your whole band decides they quit. You're floored, and they don't know, and you don't know what to do. But you don't want to quit, though. That's for sure. You want to keep the fun going. Would you rather start a new band under the same name and hope that you don't lose your following, or would you rather start a new band over from scratch and let the other band live with the albums and legacy it has had?
Okay. That's a good one. Jonathan. Has happened to quite a few people who
Oh, yeah.
are in bands,
Yeah, usually the band quits and then they form
including myself.
with
Without
someone
him?
else without you.
I've got a great story about that.
Okay.
Okay.
Save it
Tony,
for your time.
Okay.
go ahead.
Hey, if these guys quit, screw them.
Okay.
Keep the name. This is what every revival band in the world does. There's one guy who played for 2 years in a band. I mean, live if you're part of the legacy.
I hope you packed your island gear.
Why? I want to start a new band. No. Just if everyone else quits, it's on them. They can start their own new bands.
Okay.
So No, I'm going with that. And whether I'm on my island or not, I'll have my new band friends with me.
Sounds good. Jared?
I'm gonna go with the same as Tony.
Me and Jared gonna start a band.
And I'm not trying to just be, different Danny. I'm just it makes sense to me. I don't want to have anything to do with people that don't want to have anything to do with me.
Well, that's already the decision's already been made.
That's what I'm saying.
But you just have to choose: are you going to keep the name or start a new band?
I'm gonna start a new band.
So you're not going to.
No. I meant I'll keep the name. That's what I'm sorry. I'll keep the name.
He'll keep the name, but start a new band.
Right. I'll keep the name.
Okay. All right.
He's with me.
All right.
How about Rob?
I would have been okay not.
I know.
I mean,
questions-
Axl Rose did it for a little while. Right?
Yeah.
like
See
decade.
how successful that one was. All right. Go ahead.
Look at him now.
So no, I faced this problem a couple of times, and one time I fired everybody in the band and then restaffed it and tried to continue with the same name, and it didn't last very long. And then another time, band kind of just called it quits, and I said, "Yeah, I'm not going to try to do that again." Here's what I've learned over the years: if you're the singer, and you don't want the band to move forward from the point when everybody quit, cool, keep the name. Because all you're going to do is recycle what you've done up to that point.
Right.
And the singer is the most important. Anybody else, they could, almost anybody else, you could change in and out, right?
Unless you're the Ventures.
What?
Unless you're what?
The Ventures.
Sure.
Wow.
Okay.
Then the singer doesn't matter.
No one else has a reference to that.
Right, exactly. So if I'm in an original band, I'm writing music, we're successful, yada, yada, yada. The band leaves, and then me as a guitar player, no, I'm not going to keep that band name and try to restaff it because, it'd be a bad cover band.
All you're
going to
be judged on is that you're not the thing that I love.
Right. And all I'm going to do for the rest of my career is play the same songs for the first 4 albums.
Right.
But badly, you know? I mean, because it's not going to be the same. So, no, absolutely call it quits, move on, pull the Dave Grohl. Nirvana's over.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to
Pull
go
a
do
Morrissey.
something else.
Pull a Johnny Marr.
Whoever that guy
Smiths
is.
is gone.
Was there
Morrissey, really?
Fleetwood
Oh, yeah.
Mac was there any? I don't know the history of Fleetwood Mac very well. I just know that Greenie was, the famous guitar player, and now the Burst and all that kind of thing. But what happened to Fleetwood Mac, and how did they have a lot more success the second time around?
Stevie Nicks and
Yeah.
There's
And I mean,
lot.
they had some popularity. What, 3 albums before them?
at least 3. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was. I mean,
But it was a different
they weren't-
type of music.
Yeah, and they weren't huge. It was not that. You
No.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like Journey.
But to your point, when they did that, they didn't know that it was because it could have gone the other way. They could have actually been less successful than they were to begin with.
Yeah.
And Journey
That's true.
was
Yeah.
a jam band until they found Steve. What's his name?
Perry.
Perry
Right.
or REO Chuckwagon.
Yeah.
Ario, yeah.
Okay. Anyways, I'm definitely going to start a new band because of everything that Rob and I just talked about. Because that's the right thing to do, the smart thing to do, the only logical thing to do.
Yeah, but what if you wrote all those songs?
Well, you can still keep them.
Yeah, you can still play them, and you're new. I mean, that happens a lot of times where people
Yeah.
move on, and then
Hey, we're gonna
mean,
play
you
this one. You guys know
You
this.
get the residuals if they're
exactly.
successful.
And then
anyway.
every time you play it, you're paying yourself. you
Yeah,
know?
that's true.
All right. That was a great question, JJ. Thank you so much. Tony,
Thanks, buddy.
you got a list for us here.
There is, and there are probably no changes. And stop trying to rush me, Todd, because it's just not going to happen.
I wouldn't dream of it.
And I didn't think so. At this point in
The
the
72 edits I have at every episode at the end are
This episode
in no way evidence of that.
show. Yeah. Well, Todd, make this 175 edits. At this point of the show, we like to thank a very special group of people. These are our executive producers. Now, you might be wondering, what is a executive producer? And secondly, how can I, a mere mortal, become an executive producer? Well, folks, it's very easy. You go over to patreon.com/The Guitar Knobs. Check out the 2 levels in which you can participate. Am I right, Todd? 2?
Yep.
Each level has some really great thank you prizes, gifts, things like T-shirts and barefoot buttons and stickers and pics and all.
Lots of stuff. Just go check our Instagram
good
account and see
stuff.
when those things get released.
Yeah, and we just had a bunch of packages go out. 20 packages. Way to keep up on it, Todd. Anyhow, there's one more thing as an executive producer you get. And Jared, what is that?
You get to have your name read on the thing.
Your name read on the thing. So I'm going to read from newest to oldest for a change. I usually start at the beginning. Welcome aboard, John Halverson.
Right on.
How about Anthony Gemolaro?
Yeah.
Rick Calhoun. Trevor Gunberg. Mike D. Elad Mizrahi. Mark Garton. Gary Cooper. Jason Roush. John Jackson. Tig Harmon. Richard Kendall. Bill Gola Guitars. Matt Hart. James White. Justin Jones. John Esterly. Brad Partridge. John Anglin. Anthony Lathrop. Stefan Lamb. Michael Senchuk. Brian Robison. Ken Sayers. Michael Van Zant. Doug Christ. Darren Gregory. And Tom Barazin.
Right on.
You were getting prepared for
I
a big
was
one.
getting prepared.
But wait.
Yes?
Because there's a special group of executive producers.
Yes, the next level up.
The next level up. We call them our grand...
Poobahs.
Thank you.
You're
Thanks for
welcome.
finishing my sentences. So what I'd like to do is send a special tip of the fez and a thank you to these grand poobahs. Again, reading from newest to oldest
All right.
for a change. And this one, as we said last time, was an upgrade. Martin Cliff
Yes, sir.
on his way to Transylvania.
Something like that.
Yeah, Romania. Budapest. How about Michio Murakishi?
Yes.
I was practicing, Michio. Sam Jett, Bob Crouch, Mel Sanders, Johnny Morales, John Williams, LSJ Music Company, James Pennington, Tyler Rhines, Tim Nowak, Steve Keys, Adam Johnson, Tommy Manasco, Sean S. Cody Foster, Science of Sound, David Kaminga, Corey Nigro, and the author of today's Would You Rather, Jonathan Jurusik.
That's right.
Hey, yeah.
Thank you all so very, very much. Keeping
love
our
it.
wheels spinning. Much obliged. Tony, where can people find you?
Go over to pickguardian.com. Check out some of the things I have available there. As we always say, or as I always say, a lot of what I do is custom work. Let me know what you're looking for, what you want, what you need, and I will make sure it happens.
Put yourself out there. It's like, when you have a guitar and you got your pickguard and you're like, well, I guess I could get. It's like walking in a tattoo shop and going, yeah, I guess I'll get that little one. Screw that. Get the big one.
Get the big one all the way across the back.
Get the one that's making a statement.
There's some weirdos that like gold sparkle pickguards.
I know. It's
Sparkle.
crazy. Rob, how about yourself?
Mad Cow Amplification at Instagram, Facebook. I think I have YouTube somewhere.
Nice.
Perfect. Jared.
You can get a hold of me through our Guitar Knobs social media accounts.
That's
and
right.
Please ask me general pickup questions.
Yeah. You can DM me on Instagram at Guitar Knobs, where I will send anything to Jared's way that might be deemed necessary, as well as send an email, Todd at theguitarknobs.com. Ladies and gentlemen, we're grateful that you have joined us for another fantastic episode of the Guitar Knobs. Thank you to Tony, our beloved patron
We
saint
love you,
of
buddy.
guitar knowledge, and Anthony. And Rob, thank you for joining us yet again.
Thank you, Todd.
And
Thank you for
hey,
thanking
everybody,
me.
have a fantastic guitar week and subscribe.
Yes. Let it shine wherever
Let it
goes.
shine wherever you go.
I'm not going to remember that.
No, I just said it. You don't have to remember it. Tony,
Yes. I think everyone
And
should
not
see it.
everybody has to like you, Tony, but boy, oh boy, an awful lot of people do, inclling us three.
Really?
And I
Yep.
do too.
That's
sure
you're
don't
part of that
show
3,
it?
Jared. That's
Sure he's still
1,
out.
2, 3.
I'll let you know.
What the hell's he doing? Jared.
Gives-
Oh, I
gives
had
him
such a
brands.
big burp waiting there.
We're not allowed to touch the buttons. That's
Do
the
not
problem.
touch the buttons.
No, I know, but Todd will have access to the buttons. We can put the Jeopardy theme on there. We can put
I just sent it to you.
that walking. We can put the footstep thing on there. We can do all kinds
No,
of.
we don't need that. I can do that.
Hey, everybody's me. I couldn't
clap.
get it.
Somebody knocking at the door. Somebody ringing a bell. Do me a favor. Open the door. Let him in.
last week because it was just an enormous weekend and week last week.
Without further adieu to you and you and you. I'll keep that in.
Please not
I-
kill you.
Jared, can you come to headquarters? You're fired.
I saw that transition. No.
Bah.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/The Guitar Knobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.